Hello class, আজি আমি vectors topic to পঢ়িম. Vector is a very important topic. Vector is basically a mathematical tool which you will need in every step if you're studying physics. So আমি ইয়াৰ next GA topics পঢ়িম. Vector will play a very crucial part. So it's very important that we know about vector before continuing. So starting with the very basic idea, it's a बहुत basic class হ'ব. We'll get to know that there are two types of quantities. We know that there are scalar quantities and there are vector quantities. So scalar quantities are the quantities which have just the magnitude. So if we say that if a car is moving at a speed of say 5 meter per second, so that's the speed of the car. So we are not concerned about etu kunfale goi ase. We are not concerned. We are just concerned ki eta car ase jonto 5 meter per second move kori ase. So when we are concerned with only the magnitude, the quantities which speak only of magnitude, like what are the quantities? Quantities like speed, distance. Okay, so these are the quantities jo tami direction na sao. I'm just magnitude sao. So when we talk about those quantities which concerns only the magnitude, then we're talking about the scalar quantities. Those are the scalar quantities. But when we talk about direction, so there are certain other quantities which are not only concerned with the magnitude. এই quantities কেইটাৰ লগত direction থাকে তো যেনেকৈ এটা car move কৰি আছে 5 meter per second. If you say speed, then it's fine, আমি magnitude কৈ আছোঁ. But if you're saying velocity, it's moving at a velocity of 5 meter per second towards a certain direction. For let's say এইটো এইফালে গৈ আছে তো towards east, let's say. So আমি এটা direction assign কৰি দিছোঁ. So when we any quantity which deals with both magnitude and direction, then we call them as vector quantities. So an example ki hobo, just jonto kolu velocity is an example of vector quantity. We studied about displacement. If you know about displacement is also a vector quantity. What is displacement? If a at a point ase, b at a point ase, so there are many ways to go from a to b. The shortest distance between a to b is known as displacement. So the shortest distance between any two points is known as displacement, and displacement is a vector quantity, and so is velocity. Okay, how do you denote a vector? So for any quantity, let's say a, if it's a vector quantity, it is simply denoted by a bar upon its head. So that's how you denote a vector. So if any quantity with the bar upon its head, it's a vector quantity. It is also written as an arrow, but in common usage you can simply use it as a bar upon its head, and that's how you denote a vector quantity. Next topic is very important, considering a problem solving aspect. So you'll need to learn about the resultant of two vectors. So for this, let's consider an example ami lo ki enake eta river eta ase, river to a direction river to flow kori ase. For say let's say it's flowing in the towards east direction, and there is a swimmer who wants to swim. He swim kori pele from a side to a bank or a next bank to ki sabo bisare. So he'll swim in this direction, right? He has to go towards the other side. So but ki hobo, since the river is flowing towards east direction and the swimmer is swimming towards north direction, due to the force of this river the direction to change হৈ যাব. So it যদি মই এনেকৈ চাওঁ, ইষ্টত ৰিভাৰটো গৈ আছে, নৰ্থত ছুইমাৰটো ছুইম কৰিব ট্ৰাই কৰি আছে, বাট যোনটো তাৰ ট্ৰেজেক্টৰী হ'ব, এই যে ছুইম কৰিব এনেকৈ যোৱাৰ জেগাত ডিউ টু দ্য ফ'ৰ্চ অফ দ্য ৰিভাৰ এনেকৈ যোৱা ষ্টাৰ্ট কৰিব, ৰাইট? Okay, so in other way, if I say this is the velocity of the river, so it's like velocity of river, velocity of swimmer. So resultant velocity into resultant final values into paba tumi for the swimmer ki velocity swim kori goi ase, it will be given by this resultant velocity. Okay, so this is a very basic idea of how do you find resultant. Okay, so our next topic is addition of vectors. So if you have two vectors, so basically there are two rules of adding a vector. So first is the triangle rule. The second is the parallelogram rule. Okay, so if we have two vectors, let's say we have one vector, it is going in this direction, so, and we have another vector which is like somewhere going in this direction. So এই দুটার জন্য addition হবো, এটা আমি কেনেকে পাম? You just have to join the head of this vector to the tail of the another vector, so you get something like this. Okay, you get something of this sort. So এতিয়া যোনটো এই পইণ্টৰ পৰা এই পইণ্টলৈকে তুমি যোনটো জইন কৰিবা, if you join this, this is the resultant as we've studied, and this resultant is nothing but the addition of these two vectors. So this is the triangle rule because it's forming a triangle. And for parallelogram, what we do is that parallelogram we suppose we have the same these two vectors. So yad jeneke ami head to tail logo join korislu, here we'll join the tail. We have joined the tails together, so tail of this will get added, will get joined to that one. So ami eneka ki better structure pam, right? We've joined the tails, so tail to jeta ami join korim, the resultant will be given as the diagonal of the parallelogram will complete. So parallelogram I can banam, so etu eta mirror image ami upore jodi banao something like this, and etu something like this. Okay, so it's forming a parallelogram. Okay, so a resultant to junto ahibo, this one, this is nothing but the sum of the two vectors. So this is the diagonal of the parallelogram we made. So this is the parallelogram rule of adding vectors, and this is the triangle rule of adding vectors.